When people talk about the end of the world, most of the time it feels like science fiction. You get these crazy Hollywood movies, meteors crashing down, aliens invading, zombie apocalypses, stuff designed to keep you entertained while you munch popcorn. But the truth is, every religion, every ancient civilization, every culture that's ever existed, they all had some kind of story about the end. And in Islam, the Day of Judgment isn't just a story. It's not just a metaphor. It's described as a reality so vivid, so inevitable, that it forces you to confront the biggest question of all: what happens when everything we know is ripped away? In Islam, this isn't treated like a myth or a bedtime tale. It's presented as an unavoidable certainty. The Quran doesn't talk about it like a possibility. It talks about it like a fact. The sun will collapse, the stars will scatter, the mountains will crumble into dust, and the seas will boil over. Imagine that for a second. Everything that we think is permanent, the ground beneath us, the sky above us, the order of nature, all of it dissolving in chaos. And here's the thing. Islam says that this is not just destruction for the sake of destruction. It's a transition, a shift from one stage of existence to another. We go through life with this illusion of control. We set alarms, plan our days, build careers, collect stuff, chase fame, chase money. But the concept of the Day of Judgment is this ultimate reminder that all of it can be stripped away in a moment. Nothing you built, nothing you own, nothing you thought made you secure is going to matter when the world itself collapses. And that's heavy because it means you have to look at yourself and ask, what am I really preparing for? Think about the sheer magnitude of what Islam describes. The sound of the trumpet, this deafening, cosmic blast that tears through the universe. Not just one city, not just one planet, but the entire universe responding to this sound. Galaxies unraveling, black holes being undone, space itself folding in on itself. Scientists talk about entropy, the eventual heat death of the universe, where everything cools into nothing. But here it's not entropy, it's cataclysm. It's an orchestrated ending, and for the human being caught in that moment, there's no escape. Imagine the ground shaking so violently that you can't even stand, the sky splitting open like fabric tearing, the oceans erupting, the air burning with fire. All of creation is in panic, and you're standing in the middle of it, realizing that everything you thought you owned, every distraction you ever had, it's gone. There's nothing to hide behind. There's no system, no technology, no government, no army, no bunker that can save you. You're standing face to face with the raw reality of existence. It's not hearest about the collapse of the physical world. It's not just about a collapse of the physical world. It's about accountability. That's the core. The world ends, and now comes the part that we spend our whole lives avoiding. Standing in front of something greater than us, having to answer for every choice we ever made. No excuses, no lawyers, no PR spin, no. But wait, let me explain. It's raw truth, and the way it's described, man, it's intense. People being resurrected from their graves, not as spirits, not as vague souls floating around, but physically with their bodies brought back together. And you stand in this massive assembly, billions and billions of human beings, every generation that ever lived, from imagine the scale, from Adam, the first human, all the way to the last person alive before the trumpet. Every king, every slave, every scientist, every farmer, every warrior, every celebrity, every anonymous nolder, what's standing shoulder to shoulder, waiting to be judged. Now, what strikes me the muth has forgot this is the idea that nust forgot, the waiting idea that nothing is forgot. Every moment, every word, every action is recorded. That text you sent at 2 a.m., that time you cheated someone out of money, that time you comforted a friend, that charity you gave in secret, that time you lied to protect your ego, all of it is accounted for. We live in this world where people think they can get away with things if no one sees them. But in this narrative, you're standing in front of your Creator, and the record is flawless. It makes you realize how fragile this idea of privacy is. We think we have secrets. We think we can hide. But the day of judgment is essentially the exposure of every hidden thing. The Quran says the earth itself will speak, testifying to what was done on it. Your own body, your own skin will testify against you. Imagine your own hands and tongue speaking, revealing things you thought you buried. That's a level of accountability that you can't wiggle out of. And that's what really gets people uncomfortable. Because deep down, we all know we're not perfect. We know we've done things we're ashamed of. And the thought of standing in front of the one who knows every detail, it forces you to ask, what's my excuse? What's my defense? But here's the other side of it. It's not just doom and gloom. It's also justice. Think about all the crimes that never got punished, all the innocent people who were killed, all the tyrants who got away with murder, all the corruption that never got exposed. On that day, nobody escapes. Absolute justice is served. And in a world like ours, where people constantly complain about injustice, where the system feels rigged, the idea of a day where nothing slips through the cracks, that's powerful. This is what Islam emphasizes. The day of judgment isn't just about punishment. It's about truth. Every hidden lie gets exposed, every act of kindness gets rewarded, every act of oppression gets answered for. And when you think about it like that, it's terrifying, but also comforting, because it means nothing you did was pointless. Even the smallest good act, a smile, a helping hand, a word of Eve Herakard's Maul, even if the smallest evil act, even if you thought no one saw, and even if you think it, no one saw it. So when I think about the day of judgment, it's not just the apocalyptic visuals, the collapsing skies and trembling earth. It's the realization that this life is essentially a test and the results are waiting on the other side. And the scary thing, none of us know when the trumpet will be blown. It could be in 1,000 years, or it could be tomorrow. And that brings me to the real weight of this conversation. If you knew the world was going to end tomorrow, how would you live today? Would you still chase the same distractions, the same meaningless arguments, the same ego battles? Or would you start preparing for the only thing that's guaranteed, standing in that massive assembly, answering for what you did with your time on this earth? Because in Islam, that's the ultimate reality. And ignoring it doesn't make it less real. So picture this. The trumpet has been blown. The entire fabric of the universe has been ripped apart, and silence follows. A silence that isn't peaceful. It's the silence of nothingness, the silence after total annihilation. But then comes the second blast of the trumpet. And this one isn't about destruction. It's about awakening. The Quran describes it burdens. The graves will throw out that split open, and suddenly every human being and you aside in the rows of the lived in Verber and live the lived. Think about how wild that is. We live in a world where scientists are still debating whether consciousness even survives death. But here, the idea is crystal clear. Your body, no matter how decayed, no matter if it turned to dust, no matter if it was scattered in the ocean or burned into ashes, every particle is gathered, reconstructed, and you're standing again. And imagine what that feels like. 1 second you're in the dark, the silence of death, the non-existence that followed your last breath, and the next you're pulled back into awareness. You open your eyes, and there you are in this vast plain, surrounded by billions of others. People from every era, every nation, every culture, pharaohs standing next to peasants, prophets next to tyrants, scientists next to soldiers. All of humanity, shoulder to shoulder, barefoot, naked, uncircumcised, stripped of everything they once thought defined them. No clothes, no wealth, no titles, no jewelry, no armor. Just human beings, raw, exposed, waiting. And that waiting, it's described as unbearable. People are drenched in sweat, the heat of the sun brought closer, so close that some are drowning in their own perspiration, depending on their deeds. Imagine billions of people standing under an unrelenting sun, No shade, no water, no distractions, no phones, no music, nothing to numb the reality. Just yourself, your conscience, and the knowledge that judgment is coming. And in that crowd, the emotions are intense. People are terrified, some begging, some in denial, some in shock. The Quran describes faces that are bright, glowing with hope, filled others are darkened, filled with regret. It's the ultimate sorting ground, and yet judgment hasn't even started. This is just the waiting area before the main event. Now, here's what really hits me. In our lives, we're constantly trying to escape silence. Think about it. We fill our days with noise, with podcasts, music, videos, scrolling endlessly, because silence forces us to reflect. But on that day, there's no escape. You're forced into this overwhelming awareness. You know something's coming, you know you can't run, you can't talk your way out of it, you can't make a deal, and all you can do is wait. The prophets, the greatest humans to ever walk the earth, even they are in a state of fear, begging for intercession for mercy. Imagine people running from one prophet to another, asking them to plead with God to start the judgment, just to get it over with. They run to Adam, to Noah, to Abraham, to Moses, to Jesus, all of them declining, saying, myself, myself, until finally they come to Muhammad, who bows in front of God and is granted permission to intercede. That moment itself is staggering, because it shows you, even the holiest, even the strongest, even the most righteous, are trembling in fear of that day. And that really makes you think, if the greatest human beings are worried about themselves, where does that leave us? The Quran also paints this picture of people being resurrected with what they carried in life. Some rise up glowing, honored, peaceful. Others rise chained, humiliated, dragging the weight of their sins. Imagine someone coming out of their grave with literal burdens tied to their back, or fire chasing them, or their body parts exposing their crimes. It's not some abstract morality, it's a reality so visual, so in your face that you can't deny it. And in that massive crowd, everyone is looking for safety, but there's nowhere to hide. The kings who once ruled nations are powerless. The billionaires who thought money could buy anything are broke. The armies that once conquered lands are disarmed. Celebrities, unknowns, scholars, criminals, everyone is the same. And it's in that equality that the truth of existence is revealed. Now, here's where it gets deeper. This gathering isn't just chaos, it's organized. Angels are everywhere, towering beings filling the skies, descending in ranks, surrounding humanity, guiding, directing. You're herded, like cattle, toward the place of standing. And this is where people are sorted. The righteous are honored, given shade when no one else has it, comforted with a sense of peace. The arrogant, the deniers, the oppressiated, stripped of the drag, humiliated, stripped of the illusions, then carried. The illusions they once carried, and while you're standing there, waiting, time stretches. Minutes feel like hours, hours feel like days. The Quran says it feels like 50,000 years. 50,000 years of waiting for judgment to begin. No distractions, no breaks, just the crushing weight of reality pressing down on you. And that's the thing. It's not just physical torture, it's psychological. The anticipation is almost worse than the judgment itself. Think about how anxious people get waiting for a medical result, or a court verdict, or even a job interview. That nervousness, that pit in your stomach, it eats at you. Now multiply that by infinity. You're not waiting for a grade on a test. You're waiting for the ultimate verdict of your entire existence, heaven or hell, eternal joy or eternal regret. And you don't know where you stand until the record is opened. And the most chilling part, you can't fake it anymore. In life, you can curate your image, pretend to be something you're not, fool others, maybe even fool yourself. But here, there's no pretending. Every action is exposed, every intention laid bare. The masks are ripped off, and you're forced to see yourself exactly as you are. The prophets will testify, the angels will testify, earth, The earth will testify, and you can almost feel the weight of people realizing, this is it. No more chances, no more time, no more distractions, just the truth. And that's what makes this scene so powerful. The resurrection isn't just about coming back to life. It's about facing a reality you've been running from your whole existence. It's about standing in the middle of billions, stripped of everything you thought mattered, and realizing the only thing that counts is the record of your deeds. And so, as humanity stands there, under that blazing sun, waiting for judgment to begin, the atmosphere is electric with fear, regret, hope, and desperation. And you can't help but ask yourself, if I were in that crowd, what would I be feeling? Relief, terror, regret, hope? Because the waiting doesn't last forever. The next stage is coming. And when it comes, there's no turning back. So now we're at that point. Humanity is gathered, billions standing in this endless plain, the sun blazing overhead, angels surrounding everything. And there's this tension in the air. You know something is about to happen. The waiting has stretched into what feels like an eternity. And finally, judgment begins. And this is where it gets real. Because now there's no speculation, no theories, no philosophies. No, maybe this is true. Maybe it's not. This is the unveiling. Every human being is handed their record. In Islam, the Quran describes it so vividly. People receiving their book of deeds in their right hand, others in their left, and some even behind their backs. And that detail isn't random. If you're given it in your right hand, it means salvation, success, mercy. If it's in your left hand, it's humiliation, loss, regret. Imagine holding a book that has every single detail of your life. Not just the highlights, not just the stuff you posted online, but every hidden thought, every whispered word, every private moment. Times you thought no one saw you, times you thought no one heard you. It's all there. And now it's not private anymore. It's public. The angels read it, the people around you see it, and you can't deny a thing. And here's what makes it even more intense. You're forced to relive it. Imagine flipping through that record and seeing yourself lying, cheating, stealing, hurting someone. But also, imagine seeing the good you forgot about, the time you gave charity, the time you forgave someone, the time you prayed, the time you lifted someone's spirit when they were broken. Nothing is erased, nothing is forgotten, and then comes the scales. This is one of the most powerful images in Islamic belief, the idea that your deeds are literally weighed, not in some symbolic way, but in reality. Good deeds on one side, bad deeds on the other, and every single action, no matter how small, tips the balance. The Quran says even the weight of a mustard seed matters. That means the tiniest act of kindness could be the difference between salvation and ruin. Think about how often we dismiss small things. Holding the door for someone, giving a glass of water, speaking kindly, smiling. It feels insignificant. But here, those tiny actions become massive. Imagine your whole eternity being saved by something you didn't even remember doing, but God remembered. And on the flip side, the smallest cruelty, the smallest betrayal, the smallest moment of arrogance could tip the scale the other way. Now let's pause here and think about how different this is from our lives today. In this world, people get away with things. If you're rich enough, powerful enough, charismatic enough, you can dodge accountability. But on that day, none of that works. The scales don't care about your bank account, your follower count, your titles. They care about truth. And the truth is heavy. And the reactions are intense. Those who receive their record in their right hand, they're overjoyed. The Quran describes them shouting in celebration, showing off their book, "Here, read my record." They're proud, relieved, finally at peace. Imagine the euphoria of realizing you made it. The weight lifting off your chest after thousands of years of waiting, that sense of freedom and joy. It's overwhelming. But then there are those who get their record in their left hand, and their despair is crushing. They curse themselves, they scream, they wish they had never been born. Some even cry out, wishing they could be turned into dust, erased from existence. Imagine holding a book that confirms your failure, that lays bare every mistake you made and shows you the punishment you earned. There's no greater heartbreak than that. And then comes one of the most terrifying parts, the crossing of the Sirat. This is described as a bridge stretched over hell, thinner than a hair, sharper than a sword. Every single human has to cross it. Think about that. Hell raging beneath you, this blazing, endless abyss, and you're told, walk across. For some, it's effortless. The righteous cross as fast as lightning, safe, guided. For others, it's slow, painful, terrifying, and for some, they slip, they fall, dragged down into the fire. This image is insane, because it's not just about crossing a bridge. It's about your entire life condensed into one moment. Every choice you made determines how steady your footing is. Did you live with sincerity? Did you oppress others? Did you try to follow truth? Or did you chase your ego? All of it decides whether you make it across or not. And what's wild is that people don't cross alone. Some are helped by their good deeds, by their prayers, by their fasting, by the Quran itself interceding for them. Others are abandoned, weighed down by their sins, and the angels are there too, guiding, assisting some, striking down others. It's a scene of unimaginable tension, and when you think about it, it forces you to look at life differently. Because here, every single moment mattered. Every step you took in life was either preparing you for this crossing or setting you up for failure. And the bridge doesn't lie, it reveals exactly who you are. Now, what blows my mind is the scale of mercy that's described in Islam. Yes, judgment strict, yes, the scales are precise, yes, the crossing is terrifying, but at the same time, God's mercy is overwhelming. People who thought they were doomed are forgiven. People whose good deeds barely outweighed their sins are pulled through. The Prophet Muhammad intercedes for his people, begging for their salvation, and millions are saved by that intercession alone. And this balance, justice, and mercy is what makes the whole scene so powerful. It's not blind punishment. It's not random. It's precise, it's fair, but it's also filled with compassion. And you realize your hope isn't just in your deeds, it's in God's mercy. Because no matter how many good deeds you did, there'll never be enough without that mercy. So here's the picture. Billions of people, records in their hands, scales weighing their lives, the bridge stretched over hell, angels everywhere, and every soul experiencing either relief or terror. It's not a movie, it's not a metaphor. In Islamic belief, this is the ultimate reality waiting for us all. And that makes you think, if this is real, if one day I'm going to stand there, holding my record, watching the scales tip, stepping onto that bridge, what am I doing with my life right now? Am I preparing for it? Or am I pretending it's not coming? Because ignoring it won't make it go away. So now, humanity has crossed the bridge. Some made it across with ease, some barely survived, and others fell into the fire. But this isn't the end of the story. This is the point where the final judgment takes place. Heaven and hell, the two eternal destinations. And this is where the reality of everything you lived for finally hits. Let's start with hell, because the descriptions in Islam aren't vague. They're not poetic metaphors. They're detailed, visceral, meant to shake you to your core. The Quran describes it as a fire blazing so hot that it tears the skin, and when the skin is burned off, it's replaced with new skin, so the pain continues. It's not like a campfire burn. It's not like touching a stove. It's a fire whose fuel is men and stones, a fire that engulfs and suffocates, a fire that doesn't die out. And it's not just the flames, it's the psychological torment. People chained, shackled, dragged on their faces, fed boiling water that rips through their insides, clothed in garments of molten copper. Imagine breathing in smoke so toxic, it chokes you, surrounded by screams, hopelessness pressing down on you with no end in sight. It's not just pain, it's despair. The kind of despair where you know it never stops, never relents. And the Quran describes people begging for death, begging for an end, but death doesn't come. And what really stands out is the justice of it. The Quran says straight up, hell isn't random. It's for those who denied truth, who oppressed others, who lived arrogantly, who mocked the idea of accountability. Tyrants, abusers, liars, the corrupt, those who had every chance but turned away. They meet the reality they created. It's not unfair punishment. It's the logical consequence of their choices. And that's terrifying, because it means our choices matter more than we admit. But then, on the other side, you have paradise. And man, the contrast is unbelievable. Where hell is darkness, heat, and despair, paradise is light, peace, and eternal joy. The Quran describes it as gardens beneath which rivers flow. Think about that. Lush, endless gardens, rivers of milk, honey, pure water, and wine that doesn't intoxicate. Mansions of gold and silver, silk garments, thrones encrusted with jewels, fruits hanging within reach. But it's more than just material luxury, it's the feeling of it. Imagine never feeling pain again, never feeling hunger, never feeling sadness, never feeling regret. Imagine being surrounded by people you love, reunited with family, with friends, with those who lived in truth. Imagine sitting in absolute peace, laughter echoing, joy filling every moment, and knowing it never ends. That's the key. It's not temporary, it's forever. No anxiety about losing it, no fear of it being taken away. And the rewards get even deeper. In paradise, there are no grudges, no jealousy, no rivalry. Everyone's heart is purified. Imagine a world where every toxic emotion you ever had, envy, anger, hatred, is gone. You look at your brother, your sister, your neighbor, and all you feel is love, peace, contentment. That's paradise. And then comes the greatest reward of all, the presence of God. The Quran says that the ultimate joy in paradise isn't the food, the mansions, or the gardens. It's being able to see the face of your Creator, to be in His presence, to feel a connection so overwhelming that it surpasses every pleasure. That moment, that's the peak. Now here's where it gets really intense. Islam says that some people will enter paradise directly, some after being purified in hell for a time, and some never at all. And that reality, that not everyone makes it, forces you to confront the seriousness of life, because the line is razor thin. The smallest good deed can save you, and the smallest arrogance can ruin you. Think about the imagery here. People who live their lives chasing pleasure, chasing power, chasing money, standing in front of paradise and being denied. And then others, people who were mocked, oppressed, laughed at, dismissed, walking in with joy, crowned with honor. The entire script of this world flips on its head. The underdogs win, the tyrants lose, the forgotten are remembered, the remembered are forgotten. And here's the thing that really blows my mind, the eternity of it. We can't even comprehend eternity. Our brains are wired to think in decades, maybe centuries. But eternity, that's beyond imagination. Imagine the first day in paradise, then imagine the joy, the peace, then the first year, then 1,000 years, then 1,000,000,000 years. And still, it's just the beginning. You never get bored, never get tired, never run out of things to do. Time doesn't eat away at you. It just keeps giving, and the opposite in hell. Imagine the first moment of torment, the first scream, the first wave of despair, then 1,000 years, then 1,000,000,000, and it never ends. That's the reality that Islam paints so vividly. And when you really sit with it, it's overwhelming. And maybe that's the point. The descriptions are meant to jolt you awake, to make you stop coasting through life like it's all just a game. Because if these are the stakes, eternal joy or eternal despair, then nothing else really compares. But here's the part that really sticks with me. Islam doesn't describe God as wanting people to end up in hell. The whole narrative is that God's mercy is vast, that forgiveness is always open until your last breath, that paradise is the goal He wants for you. Hell is only for those who stubbornly reject, who turn away even when the truth is right in front of them. And that says a lot. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying, about turning back, about being sincere. So when you think about it, the Day of Judgment isn't just about fear, it's also about hope, because the same God who created the fire also created the gardens. And he gives us the choice every single day of our lives. That's what makes this whole thing so heavy. It's not that you don't know the outcome, it's that you shape it with every action, every intention, every choice. And in the end, that's what it comes down to. The Day of Judgment isn't about God needing to test us. It's about us needing to see the truth of who we are, stripped of excuses, stripped of illusions, standing raw in front of eternity. Heaven and hell aren't just destinations. They're reflections of the life you lived. So as the final judgment is given, as the gates of paradise open and the gates of hell roar, humanity is split, two groups, two outcomes, forever. And in that moment, the meaning of life itself is revealed. So here we are. The Day of Judgment has unfolded. The records have been opened. The scales have been weighed. The bridge has been crossed. And humanity has been divided between heaven and hell. The story has reached its climax. But the question we have to ask is, what does all of this mean for us right now? Sitting here in this world, still alive, still breathing, still making choices every single day. Because if you step back and look at the bigger picture, the Day of Judgment isn't just about some distant future. It's about the ultimate meaning of existence. It's about answering the question that haunts every human being sooner or later. Why am I here? What's the point of all this? And Islam's answer is crystal clear. You're here to be tested, not tested in some cruel, meaningless way, but tested in a way that reveals your truth. Every moment of your life, from the time you were born to the time you die, is part of that test. How do you handle success? How do you handle failure? How do you treat people weaker than you? How do you react when no one's watching? How do you use your wealth, your influence, your words, your time? All of it counts. The Day of Judgment is the final grading of that test. And the crazy thing is, you already know the rules. Deep down, every human being knows right from wrong. We can argue philosophy all day long, we can debate morality, but in the core of our being, we know when we're lying, when we're cheating, when we're hurting someone unjustly. And we know when we're being kind, sincere, selfless, that inner compass. That's part of the test. Now think about how different this perspective is compared to how most of us live. Most of us live like this world is the end game. We hustle for money, status, followers, pleasure. We fight over politics, over petty arguments, over ego. We obsess about things that in the grand scheme don't matter at all. And that's why the concept of the Day of Judgment is so powerful. It's like a wake-up call. It's the reminder that all of this is temporary. Your job, your car, your house, your reputation, it's all dust in the wind. The only thing that lasts is what you did with it. And here's the thing, you don't know when your test ends. That's what makes life so fragile. Some people live 80 years, others live 18. Some die in their sleep, others in accidents, others in wars. You don't get a warning, you don't get a countdown. Death can come at any moment, and once it does, the test is over. No retakes, no do-overs, no. Let me just fix this one thing. Your record is sealed, and the next chapter begins, and that's heavy. Because it means every day is more important than we admit. Every word, every action, every choice is part of a story you're going to be forced to reread on the Day of Judgment. And the way Islam frames it, that should scare you, but it should also empower you. Because it means no act is too small, no kindness is wasted, no struggle is ignored. And think about what that does to your perspective. Suddenly, being kind to a stranger isn't meaningless. Forgiving someone who wronged you isn't weakness. Resisting a temptation isn't pointless. All of it matters, all of it counts, all of it is seen. And the thought of that, if you really let it sink in, changes the way you live. But there's another side too. The Day of Judgment isn't just about fear, it's also about hope. The entire narrative in Islam is that God's mercy outweighs his wrath, that forgiveness is always possible, that it doesn't matter how dark your past is, you can always turn around before it's too late, and that's something we forget. We think we're too far gone, too broken, too messed up. But the day of judgment says otherwise. It says every single human being still has a shot at redemption until their last breath. That balance between fear and hope is what makes this concept so powerful. Fear wakes you up. It makes you realize you can't just coast through life on autopilot. Hope keeps you moving. It gives you the strength to change, to keep trying, to never give up, and together they keep you balanced. Now, if you think about it, this whole idea of accountability is something we crave in the modern world. Look at how people demand justice when corruption is exposed, when crimes go unpunished, when the powerful abuse the weak. We know deep down that life should be fair, that people should be held accountable, and yet we see the opposite happen all the time. Tyrants die in their palaces, criminals walk free, innocent people suffer. The day of judgment is the answer to that problem. It's the ultimate court, the ultimate reckoning, where no injustice goes unpunished and no good deed goes unrewarded. And that's why this idea resonates, even if you're not Muslim, even if you don't fully believe it, because it tapped into something universal, the longing for justice, the search for meaning, the hope that life isn't just random chaos. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway. The day of judgment isn't just about scaring you with fire or tempting you with gardens. It's about forcing you to ask, what am I really living for? Because if the answer is just money, pleasure, or ego, then you're building on sand. But if the answer is truth, sincerity, service, love, and preparation for what's coming, then you're building on rock. And in the end, that's what it comes down to. You get one life, one chance, one record. And when the trumpet is blown, when the graves open, when the scales are set, it's too late to rewrite it. The only time you have is now. So when I think about the day of judgment, it doesn't just make me afraid. It makes me aware. It makes me grateful. It makes me want to do better. Because if all of this is true, and let's be honest, none of us can say for sure it's not, then it's the most important truth there is. And that's the real lesson. Whether you're Muslim or not, whether you fully believe it or you're just curious, the day of judgment forces you to confront yourself, to strip away the noise, the distractions, the illusions, and ask, if I stood in that assembly right now, holding my record, staring at the scales, stepping onto that bridge, where would I end up?